What's up guys, Torbro here, and we are taking a look at the first set of Last Jedi Figuarts from Bandai Tamashii Nations. We have got the new Captain Phasma figure here, and we have got the kind of bonus item, the exclusive BB-9E droid that they included. So to get this guy, you had to buy both Phasma and the new First Order Trooper. They're not sold in a two-pack, but they are sold together, if that makes sense. So you had to buy them as a bundle, but they're two separate releases. You can buy them separate, but if you buy them separate, you don't get this guy. So I bit the bullet, and we're taking a look at a new, slightly updated Phasma. So BB-9E comes in just a little box, and inside of this, he's in a bag, and it's just got a shot of him on the side, some kanji on the back. We got another shot of him on the other side, and then just some more images of him. Nothing too crazy. He's really small. There's not much to talk about as far as packaging. Phasma is in the standard retail release for Figuarts. We've got the new Last Jedi call out up here. We got our figure in the window. We got her on the side. We've got some product shots on the back and some shots of her new accessories. And then that same kind of standard packaging on the other side. So let's pull her out and take a look. All right, we're going to take a look at BB-9E first. So he is basically the First Order counterpart to BB-8 in the new movie. And he's been pushed a little bit in some of the promo marketing material. And he is similar but different to BB-8. He's obviously got a different design. He has a different type of head. It's a flatter top rather than a dome. But for the most part, he's just a variant on a BB-8, or a BB unit rather. He is molded in what I can only assume is transparent plastic, because all of these grates here, which are sculpted, by the way, the little grate lines are sculpted on there, they are see-through. So the rest of him is painted black with the silver or gray accents on him, and then the head is affixed to the body. You have to put him together on a double ball peg, and he can rotate all over. He does have full range of motion. He cannot stand on his own very well. He's not like the Black Series BB-8 unit, which has kind of a weight in the bottom. This guy comes with this little dish, and you just pop him down here. I actually kind of prefer this because he can stand up perfectly straight, and it looks nice on the shelf. I'm not entirely sure I really needed this guy at the end of the day, and I'm going to end up with 4 BB units now that I've pre-ordered everything from the Last Jedi wave. But it's cool to get some droids in this line, and he is well made. A lot of nice paint apps on here, a lot of sculpted detail on the head and all over the body. So if you're into droids, I mean, this is kind of a must-have. We don't have tons of droids in the Figuarts line. We got some battle droids. We've got R2 and 3PO, and then this guy is our first official BB unit. So he's a cool little bonus, but maybe not necessarily a must-have for everyone out there. All right, here's the main attraction for this video, obviously. We've got the new Captain Phasma figure here, and she is, surprisingly, a little more different than I was expecting. You're not going to be blown away by the differences, probably, but I'm not sure she's a better figure than the first one, but she is different, and different in some good ways. We'll take a look at articulation, paint, sculpt, and all that stuff, and then we'll do a comparison between this Phasma and the previous one from the Force Awakens series. So the head has full rotation. It has some up and down motion. The cape does get in the way. You can pop the helmet off and you can pull the cape off. It's just a free-floating piece of plastic. Actually, let me do that now just to show you what we've got down here. So there is neck articulation, as you might expect on a Figuarts, and you can just pop the head back on. You know, if you wanted a chrome trooper, you could do that if you were so inclined, which she looks pretty good this way, honestly. But you can put the cape back on and then put the helmet back on, and it pops in and out just fine. The shoulder armor is articulated just like on the first release, so it's kind of cantilevered there, so you can move it up and down, so it kind of flows with the arm a little better, and then you can put it in place as you move the shoulder and the arm. The arm itself can move all the way around, can move all the way out thanks to that joint there. She does have a bicep swivel. There is a double joint at the elbow, as is pretty standard for a Figuarts. And then we have a hinge and swivel at the wrist. She does have an upper diaphragm joint, so she has some backwards motion. Too far back, you're going to get a gap, and then you've got pretty far crunch forward at the breastplate, really, which is kind of a weird motion. We do have a waist twist. Legs can go just about all the way out. The pouches on her belt will kind of get in the way a little bit, and there's also a new piece on her belt you might want to watch out for. We'll talk about that here shortly. The thighs will swivel. There is no drop down joint here on the thighs. We have got a double joint at the knee. It goes back pretty far, but it could probably go back a little further if this was a different character. The sculpt in general is hitting right there. And then we have a rocker and a hinge at the ankle, and then we've got toe articulation, as is kind of the norm on these figures as well. As far as sculpt goes, she is pretty much the same thing that we got with the first figure, but there are some differences, and I'll talk about those when we do the comparison. But this is a pretty good representation of Phasma, I believe. I like her cape. I like the, it's not too gummy, it's not too rigid though, and it does sit on her pretty well. I like the look of just First Order troopers in general, and who doesn't like a chrome trooper, so she's kind of got that going for her. There is some slight differences though. There are more things on her this time around. So this is how she comes out of the box. You can see she's got a pistol this time around, which pegs into her her right thigh, which is pretty standard for most other troopers, but the original Phasma did not have this. So we peg that in, and then she's also got this guy that sits on her belt as well, and it pegs in, and this is going to be one of her new weapons that she's got, and we'll talk about that when we get to accessories, but just know that that is there. It is about 2 inches long, and it can get in the way of your articulation a little bit, but if you're going to be having her using the weapon, it's not going to matter anyway. And then of course we've got all of the pouches that are hinged, so you can move those all around. And overall, I think her sculpt is really nice. I think she looks really good. As far as paint goes, I guess there's not tons to talk about here. One of the differences that I will talk about when we get to the comparison is her general coloring. So she is technically a little shinier than the first release. I'm not sure if it's going to show up on camera too well, but she is more metallic-y maybe, than the first Phasma. She doesn't have really any dirt on her either. That's a difference as well, but in terms of paint, this is a cleaner version of Captain Phasma. There is obviously black on the helmet, and that's really most of the paint. There's not a whole lot else. She does have some black on those inset little notches on her breastplate there, but for the most part, you're just looking at the silver top coat, and then she does have silver hands and then black paint on those as well. So overall, what is there is minimal, but what is there is also very clean. Now, as far as accessories go, we have a lot of extra hands here. We have 6 extra hands, so we've got the 2 close-fisted hands she comes with. We have 2 hands that are for the gun, or for her blaster. We have got 2 closed but gripping hands for her new spear-type weapon, and then we have got 2 style pose hands for a total of 8 hands. Now, she, of course, comes with the same kind of heavy blaster rifle that she had in the first release. This one is different from the original though. The original was kind of a gold color, and this one is more straight silver just to match her armor. And it's got a lot of paint detail on it, a lot of sculpted parts. The handle does articulate just as before, and she can hold it just fine in those 2 gun-specific hands. I think it's a really cool blaster. I didn't use this gun with the first release. I'm not sure I'm going to with this one because I like her new weapon, but this is a good accessory if you are interested in having her hold this massive rifle. And something new that I pointed out when we were looking at her sculpt, she has got this pistol as well. So you can see I've still got this one pegged in on her leg. So you can pop this one off because this one's just for, display purposes only. And this is the one she can actually hold. It doesn't sit too great in her trigger finger hand for her right hand. It sits in there okay. You can see I've got it here fine. But it's just something to note that it's not the tightest grip for this particular gun. It is basically, from what I can tell, the same kind of sidearm that the First Order troopers have, just painted in her black and silver motif. All right, her last accessory is her new weapon. So this is basically some kind of spear or a pike or javelin, something like that. Maybe a force pike, I don't know. We don't know yet. She has 2 of them. 3 if you count the one that's on her belt. So she's got the smaller one, which basically tells me that this thing is an extending weapon, so it becomes this. There's no way these are 2 different things. That doesn't make any sense. Just from any real perspective, that doesn't sound right. So this thing is just the smaller version that is telescoped, and she can extend it into this longer one, and it is basically as tall as she. It's taller than she is actually. It's got some paint on it. It's got these little black notches on them. It is not incredibly sharp, but it's not dull either. So this is a very kid unfriendly toy. And then we've got her other one on the back, and like I said before, it just pegs into her back. So you've got the two here, unextended versions, and you can just unpeg that and have her hold this. And I think this is how I'm going to have her displayed, is using this thing, because it looks really cool. I always prefer characters who have melee weapons to have those instead of their guns, and I'm really hoping we get to see her throw down with this thing finally. It'll be interesting to see how this could possibly be used in The Last Jedi. All right, so here they are for our side-by-side comparison, and I'm not sure if you could really notice the differences if I didn't tell you, outside of the fact that this one has the gun on its leg. But there are a few things that I've noticed, and there's a good chance I'm missing some as well. So if you guys know of anything that is different that I'm just not noticing, let me know down in the comments if you've gotten a hold of this yet. So the first thing that I saw is that the finish on the new one is slightly shinier. It's not vac metal. It's not as shiny as the Figuarts 3PO, but it is more shiny. It's still not really chrome, but it's got a different finish on it. It just kind of depends on how the light hits them, I suppose. But there are some differences in terms of the overall finish. This one is also got some dirtiness on the paint. So in these little notches on the helmet and in the crotch down here as well, there is some sort of wash in there. The new one doesn't have that. So she is, she's cleaned herself up, I guess, since she got out of the trash compactor. The new one has the pistol, and she has the new extending kind of spear pike weapon. They also have different ankles as well. So you can see this one has kind of ankle covers, whereas this one does not. And then these have the kind of flared shin pieces, and this one does not. So there are some differences. They're not tremendous, but they are there. I've heard some people say they think the new one is slightly taller. I don't really see it. If it is, it's just by like a small fraction of an inch. But for the most part, I think they are overall the same figure, just with a different finish. This one seems slightly duller. This one seems slightly shinier, but not enough to really do a whole lot of damage in that regard. And then this one has, just a little updates here and there. I don't know that I would say one is better constructed than the other, but I think overall, I would have to say that I like the improvements on the new one, and I like the slightly shinier composure of the armor a bit better as well. And I like the new weapons, so that's a little plus as well. But this is still a solid figure. I still think she is slightly too small, though. But, Figuarts are kind of in their own scale, so take that for what it's worth. But, yeah, I don't see the height difference here. Maybe a little bit, but for the most part, they are still relatively very, very similar figures. Well, I am pretty pleased with this Phasma. She's probably not one that everyone needs. In fact, she's definitely not one everyone needs. She only has a few minor updates, but I think they are good updates for what it's worth. And then, of course, if you want this BB unit, you've got to get her in addition to that First Order trooper with all the new bits and bobs and doodads. It's kind of worth it. If you're a completionist, you probably will get her anyway. She does come with that cool new pike, lance, whatever that thing is supposed to be, and I like the look of that overall for the character. So it's pretty decent. It's not going to blow your mind if you were happy with the first one, though. They're just not that different. They're not different enough. Just some small tweaks. That's going to do it for this look at the Bandai Tamashii SH Figuarts Captain Phasma and BB-9E. Feel free to like, comment, subscribe, and share, and until next time.